You know what sound that is, folks. You betcha. That's the sound of another noon whistle. I'm Chris Trottier.
And I am John Anzalone, and we are here with the Treehouse Executive Director, Koko Cooper. Welcome, Koko.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thanks for taking time with us. We're excited to get into it and get going here.
And let's encourage all of our guests who are following the number one podcast in Walworth County. Post questions and comments in your social media accounts. Koko would love to field questions about the Treehouse.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, Koko, why don't you kick us off? Give us a little background here, maybe a brief history of how you landed at the Treehouse and how we're so lucky to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I am a proud Walworth County native, was raised in the area, and my mom was actually very involved in the Treehouse in my 20s into my 30s, and it's been a wonderful opportunity to get to continue some of the work that she continued from the very early days of the Treehouse, and it's just a new chapter for us here.
Could you remind me, what year did the Treehouse begin?
The Treehouse actually began in the late 80s when there was an allegation of abuse that some people in the community felt the sentencing was far too light for. And so different community members from different child serving, family serving organizations came together to really look at the laws to say, how can we make sure this doesn't happen again in our community? So for about 20 years, those individuals worked to strengthen laws in our community. And then it was around the 2010, 2009 timeframe that they started looking at, could we actually bring a facility to our community known as a child advocacy center, which is where a child comes when there's been an allegation of abuse, so that they don't have to keep going to different places, different people, repeating their story over and over. Everyone comes to them in a safe and welcoming environment.
Cool. I'm so impressed that that helping people is the family business.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, you think about if there's ever a legacy to pass on to other generations, your mother did a wonderful job of committing the next generation to helping. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. I think that's amazing.
Well, thank you. And part of what I love is my colleague who couldn't be here with me today, Kayla Lauderdale. She's our program director, and she's a similar legacy. Her father, Louis Lauderdale, was very involved in the Treehouse. And she actually had an opportunity to intern while she was still in school at the Treehouse. And she knew then that, similar to what you say, she really wanted to commit her life to serving others and to helping children.
Well, Koko, I think it's an interesting story that maybe just tell us a little bit about. I remember when it all came together for the Child Advocacy Center and that this facility, and we need to build something and we need to make it, a certain way. There was a lot of people involved in that, right? A lot of different entities or government agencies.
There were so many to even try to name. But, one of the wonderful things is we have a 29 member board of directors, and some of our board of directors have been with us from those very early days. They are truly founding members of our board. So that to me speaks a lot about how near and dear this cause is to so many people, that they have been with it since 1989.
We were talking before we went on, and I think this was interesting because I kind of misspoke, and I said, it's not really good when you're busy, other than you're serving people, right?
Right.
But it's not really good when you're not busy either. And explain what you told me when I said that about not being busy.
Yeah, it's a really interesting catch-22 of the position that when we receive a call or we learn that there's a family in crisis, on one hand, it's good. It means we're getting the message out there. People know that there's a resource that they can reach out to. But what's heartbreaking is there's still the need for us to exist. And that's a very tricky emotion to have every day. And
so on the side, when you're not busy, what does that maybe, how does
that could mean that people aren't aware that, child abuse at very, very simplest terms, it's a bully. And bullies thrive when no one's looking, no one's watching, when someone doesn't know where to go or where to turn. So, when our phones aren't ringing, when our facility isn't being utilized, maybe that means there's no abuse happening. But the reality is, when you look at national statistics, that's not the case. So it most likely means that, unfortunately, there are people suffering abuse allegations that don't know what to do, don't know where to turn.
So Koko, just walk me through, how do people access the treehouse? How do victims and families and children get connected with the treehouse and your support system and services?
Right. And I'm going to actually back that question up just a step, because one thing, we want to be really clear about the treehouse facility. We are so fortunate as a nonprofit organization. We continue to support our facility. We built the facility, but the actual work done within our facility, the Child Advocacy Center and the Child and Family Counseling Center, that's the team from Children's Wisconsin that we partner very closely with. So when there's an actual allegation of abuse, a family can reach out to us to learn what to do. But the reality is, for a child to be seen at the treehouse, that first call needs to go to law enforcement or to Child Protective Services. And in reality, we actually recommend that a family or someone who has an abuse allegation concern, that they contact both, because that way it's just, you're making sure that you're dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's. Once there's been that allegation, either CPS or law enforcement then makes the determination, are they going to bring that child and family to the treehouse? And there's different reasons that, it may not. But so that's what we call intervention. That's an abuse allegation has already occurred. Treehouse as a nonprofit, where we're focused, in addition to supporting the building and in addition to supporting that facility to make sure it continues to be warm and welcoming once there's been that allegation, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could get ahead of the allegation, raise awareness of child abuse prevention, bring education to families, bring education to students, bring education to the different professional services that work with children and families. So as a nonprofit, that's where our focus is. So there's different ways that children and family may engage with us. But as a nonprofit, we're really trying to get upstream and work with families before the crisis occurs.
So that's an interesting explanation, because I don't know if everybody understands that the treehouse tries to be in front.
Correct.
And the Child Advocacy Center is in the event that there has been an allegation or a crime committed or that end of it. But you both work together through this whole process, right?
Yes. Yeah. Our program director, Kayla Lauderdale, is actually, she works with what we call a multidisciplinary team. And we're more involved on the making sure that there's training coming to everyone who's part of a multidisciplinary team. And when we use that term, that includes forensic interviewers who talk with children when there's been an allegation of abuse, medical examiners when we may need to do an evaluation of whether or not there's been there are physical marks of abuse. That is law enforcement. That is a child and family advocate. So there's a whole team that comes together within the treehouse. Kayla, our program director, and treehouse, we really support that MDT through ongoing training.
All right. So let me back you up, Koko. Some might not know CPS.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to watch acronyms. Child Protective Services.
And then the last one you said was
MDT.
MDT, multidisciplinary team.
Okay. And then when you talked about Children's Wisconsin, Children's Hospital Wisconsin is your partner.
Correct. And they did go through a rebranding. I'm not sure how many years ago. So now it's Children's Wisconsin.
Okay. Thank you.
Got it.
So how does someone, you being a nonprofit, how does someone get involved if they're like, you know what, I might have a passion for this, and is there a way I can help? Is there a way I can be on a committee or a board or anything?
Absolutely. There's so many different ways to be involved, whether someone's more comfortable being behind the scenes, whether someone's more comfortable being out in the community, talking with different community members. We have endless opportunities. You can always call the treehouse. 262-755-8733. You can email us. We have a general email line at info@treehouseforkids.net. And you can also visit our website, www.treehouseforkids.net, and all our contact information is listed there.
You nailed that.
Yeah,
that
you
was
did.
like a real deal commercial.
Yeah, that was. Koko, let's talk.
Thank you. Is my
we-
check in the mail?
You did not miss a beat.
Yeah, you might have done that before. So tell us a little bit about, we talked a little bit off air. What are some upcoming events, things that are happening that you want to announce that you're advocating, celebrating, recognizing, encouraging? Talk a little bit about the upcoming couple of months that are ahead of the Treehouse.
Definitely. So right now we are gearing up for April, which is Family Strengthening Month. Used to be known as Child Abuse Prevention Month, but about 2 to 3 years ago, similar to what I was talking about of how do we get ahead of a crisis before it happens, there was a little bit of a rebranding of Child Abuse Prevention Month to let's talk about the different ways families can be supported and strengthened within a community. So that's what April is really all about. We are very fortunate. We work with several different nonprofit partners and agencies in the area to come out with a campaign in April that includes messaging, activities. We're looking at ways to involve schools, classrooms, parents, different businesses. So we'd love if someone would like to learn a little bit more about how you can be a part of Family Strengthening Month. We'd love to hear from you.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, so this kind of brings us, time goes by fast, so we're getting to the end, and we've been, the Noon Whistle, we don't like to rest on our laurels here. We're cutting edge. So we kind of talked before, we're going to, instead of doing thank yous, we're going to go right around the room, shall we say, and kind of just talk about why are all three of us dedicated to community service and serving others. So I guess I'll go first. How's that? I'll kick it off.
That's perfect.
Hashtag leadership, John. So I think staying involved in the community, where it's Elkhorn or Burlington or any of the surrounding communities, what has always motivated me was my upbringing, was the fact that there were so many people involved in influencing me, whether it was teachers, employers, community coaches. This always felt like that really shaped the person I was, and it was my responsibility to then pass that on to the next generation. And that really is what motivates me. And at the same time, trying to give kids an opportunity that maybe either I didn't have, or maybe that they're looking to be a part of. So just that's what drives me. John, we'll go to you.
Yeah, pretty similar. I think my upbringing, my dad was a teacher, and I think just between your teachers and coaches and family members and community members, and someone told me long ago, you get more from giving than getting. And I don't know why that always stuck with me. But I found myself that unconsciously doing things or jobs, it's like, wow, I always end up in the service lane. And eventually figured out this must be my calling or what I need to do or where I thrive maybe. And that's been it. That's been a career of just serving in different capacities, and I wouldn't change it.
Well, you got a thumbs up there from Shelly Higgins on Facebook. So well done. Well done. Thank you to Ken Reynolds for the quick shout out. Koko, your turn.
Can I just say ditto? I don't know if I could summarize it any better than both of you did, but I mean, that truly is it. The way we can move the needle so much more when we work together. And I think that's part of what's just brilliant about Walworth County, and in a way kind of unique to Walworth County. Every county has its own special identity, but Walworth County, it just truly cares. And I think that's just wonderful to get to be a part of. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be in this role and to work with so many incredible people who share the same passion for helping others.
Yeah. And what you do, Koko, is so important, and you do it so well. So thank you for all you do for Walworth County and the greater community.
Right back at you both. Thank you.
Well, I also think, look at the people who are on right now who are commenting. You think about people who are giving back to the community. Shelly Higgins, got to know her as a, working for the Booster Club, and now as a Rotarian, and she was president of Rotary. You got Kenny Reynolds, local businessman, graduate, helping out in the Booster Club, and anywhere he can, you always see him present. And then, John Henderson, we're all Rotarians. He's a fellow Rotarian who's always active in the community. So,
and I'm probably 90% of the committees or boards in town that are making change.
Yeah. So on that note, I just want to, Koko, thank you for all you do. Thank you for being on the Noon Whistle. We hope that this platform can continue to celebrate, recognize, and invite people to learn more about your amazing organization and the amazing things you do. So thank you for your service to our community, to families. So thank you so much. And John, I don't know, what does your watch say?
I think it might be time. Keep up the great work, Koko.
Yep,
right,
thank you. Uh-oh, listen for it. Got to go back to work. Thank you, Koko.
Thank you.
Here it is.